Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something.
Oh, please, stop listening to those fairy tales. The American dream is long gone. If your parents didn't make it on this continent on time, no matter how much you knock, the doors are locked for the regular people. You can open, her parents are billionaires.
Meet Roberta Werthein, an heir to a billion-dollar dynasty. Back in 1925, her ancestors chased the American dream and ended up creating one of the most successful businesses in Latin America. 100 years and 4 generations later, Roberta calls an American dream an illusion. Today, she will reveal what it's truly like to be old money and why even rich kids aren't immune to depression.
Roberta,
Hi, Albina.
thank you so much for coming here. You told me yesterday that your grandparents were thinking of coming to the United States, but they ended up in Argentina.
First of all, my great-grandfather was born in Ukraine, and because the pogroms, they had to escape. And in that wave of migration, they were getting on a boat thinking they were coming to America, but they ended up in Argentina, in a province called La Pampa. That's the reason I was born in Argentina, and I lived my whole life there. My grandfather, their son, and his 2 brothers, they started having a general store in this little town called Riglos. And from this general store, that evolved, and then they suddenly, after many, many years, the business grew, and they bought a bank, but this bank was only one desk in the middle of nowhere with like one office. So imagine how it was. And from there, the business grew. And that's how the sons get involved, and the family business grew and diversified in many different industries. We are in the cattle stock business, agriculture, telecommunications, tech, healthcare. It's crazy to think how from that little one-office bank, it evolved into what we are now, that I am the 4th generation of my family. And it's a big institution in South America. It is an honor to continue with this legacy. And it's also a very hard task.
Before we continue this episode, I want to share something personal. When I was 18, I moved to the US to pursue my career. I thought I had it all figured out. I had the plan, the financial support of my parents, but I was still sitting in my dorm room, 1,000 miles away from my family, trying to understand how to adjust in the place which still didn't feel like home. The stress wasn't just about school. It was the fear of letting my family down and not making it. That's why I want to thank our sponsor, BetterHelp, for making this episode possible. In those moments of uncertainty, therapy helped me to understand how to unpack everything which I was carrying by myself. The homesickness and the fear of letting people down. It reminded me that therapy is not about being weak. It's about finding the tools which help you to stay resilient and overcome the uncertainties in your life. BetterHelp is entirely online, so it works around your schedule. After you fill in the quick questionnaire, you'll be matched with a licensed therapist who understands your worries and needs. So if you are dealing with the hard times or pressure, or just with the economy of today's world, remember, you do not have to carry it all by yourself. Click the link in the description or head to betterhelp.com/privilegedfew to get 10% off your first months. Because maybe the biggest investment you can make is the one in yourself. So now, let's get back to our episode. Your family has an incredible story. Do you think American dream is still alive? And would this type of success story even be possible in today's world when the wealth gap only keeps on increasing?
I think the American dream is a little bit of a lie. Not a lie, but an illusion, I would say. Our generation can't afford to buy a house. Our generation has completely different working values as well. And also, money keeps depreciating. So the value of money is less and less every time. So I feel this American dream of an illusion is not possible anymore. But it was for our grandparents. And my family that went to Argentina, they didn't live the American dream, but they were able to build from nothing to everything that we have now.
You know, a lot of people have many different opinions when it comes to the top 1%. Usually people say that they're happy that the wealth gap is increasing. You're the next gen, you have a completely different perspective. How do you feel about today's environment and today's economy?
I feel the government keeps printing money inflation will keep on growing. There's this like bubble that will burst at some point. I don't know if you've read the Bitcoin Standard, but I am very pro Bitcoin, as I feel it's the new way to store value. Because in the 70s, when Nixon detached the money from the gold, I feel we started this path of, money is just paper that's being printed whenever the government is in need. Yes, I feel that there's new ways that are arising that can store value, and the world is going in an interesting place.
Have you ever felt guilt about your privilege?
I never felt ashamed to the level that I wanted to get away from it, because that happens a lot and I've seen it in other families. I've always knew that staying close and using this for my advantage was the best way.
I think I'm looking up to you when you're saying that you've never been ashamed of your privilege and you're very grateful for it, because I often experience guilt of it. At the same time, I understood that, especially I'm just the second generation, so I was looking how my parents were trying to make it. But I always knew that the things which I have today, it was the random lottery of being just born into this family.
I never felt guilt because I've always concentrated in the effort that my father and my family have put on the work to have what we have. To be honest, I've seen it with my own eyes, and I put the same effort in my things. People don't see this effort, and that's why sometimes there's a lot of judgment. But to continue with a legacy, to continue with a family business, or to have these privileges requires a lot of effort. And so this is not something that anyone can do. You have to be trained for it.
Do you think there is a certain type of responsibility people like you and I have?
Yes, I think we have a big responsibility in terms of utilizing our legacy in the best way and utilizing it for something relevant in life, and not just being comfortable where we are. When I was studying my master's, we started with our first project, our company with investments. The best experience of my life, to being able to build a company from scratch, raising money. And that's when you see the perks of having the family that I have.
What are the perks?
Because for so many generations, my family has built a name and a reputation that creates a certain type of trust. Mm-hmm. That trust is only able to be like that if it's for so many years, because of having successful businesses and because of building this institution. My father always educated me in this way, where the money is better to be invested or in some kind of project or land. The first thing I did is invest in my own company, because I truly believe in our vision, which is that we are tokenizing soccer players and allowing anyone in the world to invest in them.
Do you agree that success always involves a lot of luck?
I think success involves, I would say, being opportunistic. Seeing the opportunity and the timing. And that is what also drives the success.
I like this idea of opportunity with timing. And I think this also brings me back to the American dream, because I feel like the opportunity and the timing is not in the US right now.
No.
If you want to make money, you have to be abroad. And what's your advice on this?
Yeah, this is not the moment for anything. It's a really weird moment in time. But every dark moment or weird moment is an opportunity. For example, I don't know, we are at the beginning of crypto and Bitcoin. I feel this is the biggest opportunity in the life of many people. So there is this darkness that you can see, but I see a lot of opportunities.
I always personally struggle with the thing of what should I do with my privilege? Because I see a lot of my friends who understand that this world is probably corrupt. Most likely, it is.
Yes.
And when you already have a privilege, you can either, even if you're not corrupt, you can either profit from the privilege which you've already had, or you can put your entire family, for example, in danger by going against the system and trying to speak up and trying to bring more awareness to what is happening within the top 1%. And it feels like it's a stupid decision to go against the system, because in the end of the day, you're harming your family. So what is there to do? And I guess it's more of a personal question.
Yeah, this is something my father taught me, and he always said, like, the best player is the one that plays in the system, because you get to know the system and learn, and then you're able to see how you can hack it. But he always told me, like, you walking on the line is not being on the other side. So you gotta see what's the best way to walk in the line without putting your feet on the other side.
So balance is key.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard to achieve it.
Yeah.
I think what's often overlooked in huge family businesses, which last for many generations, is family values. Because not a single family would be able to maintain this for such a long time if they weren't clear, not even family rules, but certain traditions.
Yes.
What is your family dynamic like?
Yeah, and in my family, it has been a very male-dominant family in the business world, and the women were always on the other side. But now we are starting to get involved in a way, because also these paradigms change. So it's very important for us to understand all this legacy, and instead of feeling these chains or pressure or weight, just use this as energy to shift these paradigms. And it's all about what you do with it.
One of the main reasons why I started this channel is because I thought that there is so much segregation, not only physical, between people from different financial backgrounds. But now, because people are not going to the same schools when they're, for example, from middle class and upper class, there is also no knowledge sharing. So I started this channel with the goal of making Rich Dad advice available for all. So can you share some of advices of your parents, which people probably can't find in some self-help books?
I would give two. In the personal life, family is the most important thing, and we forget about this. These were old values that now are forgotten, and kids don't even respect their parents anymore, and I see it. So I truly believe that for personal evolution, it's so important to maintain a good relationship with family. And in the business, I would say to develop these social skills to become a chameleon and be able to analyze the context you're in and decide what's the best card to play. I think that's the best lesson I've learned from my father.
I so agree with you regarding the family values. I think, you know what I've noticed? That I can barely find any TV shows which doesn't have a couple cheat on each other. It's so hard to find any movie where there are still those values. And I feel like it's done purposely, because like it's so easy to divide and conquer, as they say.
Yeah, totally. And also, even in politics, like, people get more attracted to negative comments, and when people are swearing and when there's crisis or problems between people, when you share positive thoughts, positive values and nice relationships, people are not interested. Like, that's a fact, it's proven. And I read it in a book called The Engineers of Chaos, and this guy talks about how literally in politics they just focus on showing negative comments, struggles between people. That's what creates more visibility. It's sad, but it's the truth.
You and I, even if we weren't given as much as we could, and I believe that your family always lived below their means, we still got things like, for example, privilege of loving parents, or privilege of them paying for your university. Was your university paid?
Yes, and trips and experiences.
Yeah.
And my father taught me how to take care of myself very well. In every vacation we had going outdoors, he taught me how to survive in the wild, how to build a tent, how to make a fire. I know that if you throw me into a jungle, I'm going to be the one to survive. And many people that haven't, lived like me maybe wouldn't be able to.
My mom always tells me that you, no matter how rich you are, you should always know how to survive.
Exactly.
So how did your parents make sure that you're going to be successful in your life? Did they teach you something about finance? Did you have pocket money?
I don't think my parents ever taught me how to be successful, and being successful is also tricky because I don't think you have to measure success with external things and money. Yes, money is also a measure of success in this capitalist world that we live in, but I feel success, to be honest, is the relationships that we cultivate. And that's what really enriches your life and makes you successful. Like networking and actually cultivating interesting and valuable relationships, that's success. And you can do that with having nothing. Another concept that I truly believe is from this Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He said that the richest person is not the one that has more, but the one that needs less. So it's very tricky, but I try to concentrate in that phrase every day of my life.
Would you consider yourself successful if you didn't have your financial privilege today?
I would consider myself very successful because, like I said, I became the master of networking, and I became the master of cultivating the richest and most valuable relationships. And that's what I will continue doing in my life. So doesn't matter my family's resources, where I come from, that I cultivated is only because of myself, my personality, my way of interacting, and all these social skills that I acquired in life because of all these many experiences that I lived in life.
How's your parents' perspective on success differs from yours?
I think they always incentivized me to be the best person that I could be. In every sense, like the best friend to my friends, the best wife to my husband, the best sister and to my brothers, and the best daughter to my parents.
I think there is a famous saying that the first generation makes the money, the second maintains it, and the third one loses it.
Yes.
You guys passed that.
We passed it, yes.
So you're already the fourth generation. So how does the family business process even work? How do you select who's the next CEO of the company?
The members of my family that are involved actually start from the bottom. Nobody starts with any privilege. You enter like any other employee in our family. They incentivize us to go live abroad, have a master's degree wherever, and then if we are interested to come back to the family at some point.
Is that the reason why you went to study abroad?
Yes, that's the reason I went to study abroad, but I always wanted to live in New York as well. I think New York is the best city in the world.
Do you think New York became completely unaffordable and right now this city is for top 1%?
Yes, I think New York is completely unaffordable, and like they said, everyone that lives here, I saw an article, I think in The Economist, that everyone that lives here, it's because we are sons or daughters of the baby boomers. There's a certain truth in that, but you know, it's the Mecca of the world, so basically you're paying to be here, which makes sense. So living abroad, it takes you out of your comfort zone, it puts you in a place where you gotta be responsible for your life. I feel that's part of evolving as a human being, and my father thinks that's really important, and I agree and I share those values as well. And that's why you're also able to be in contact with other cultures and with other people. And putting yourself out there is what really makes you evolve. Your character, your personality, your personal brand. In Argentina, when I finished high school, I studied in a public university, which is one of the best in the country. It's called La UBA, University of Buenos Aires. That is a very peculiar place because it's very politicized, and you have people from every type of people, from one side to the other, from right to left, top and bottom, literally everything. And so that for me was an amazing experience because you're just a number. If somebody knew who I was, it's because they looked at my name and searched for my last name. But being able to be in contact with such a variety and diversity of people made me be the chameleon that I am today. And today I think the skill that I have, which is very valuable, is to analyze the context where I'm in and then see what card I'm going to play. If I'm going to play I'm from this big family because I know it's going to give me some type of benefit, or I'm going to have this meeting that I want, or I'm going to play the card of I'm a farm girl that rides horses and loves camping. But not in the sense of being strategic and not genuine, because I am genuine. All of those personalities, cards, or however you want to name it, it's all me. It's genuine. It's just a matter of, how I present myself.
Did you have cases of your friends using you for your family's wealth?
I never had issues with my friends, but I could realize when somebody wants to get closer because of your family. But I don't take it as something bad. In the contrary, I am very grateful and honored, and I value a lot the effort that my father and my family have done for so many years to get to where we are, that I don't feel ashamed. And I know that maybe there's some people with interest, but I just take it as it is. I just became better at recognizing when that happens. Here in New York, it's more superficial. It's all about presenting yourself like, I am this, I do this, and you get what you want. So I had to change my narrative from where I was coming from in Argentina, which was hiding, to exposing. It also required a transformation in my person, how I dressed. I started taking into account so many things, but that was a conscious transition.
You probably see a lot of those videos on TikTok where people post how girls are dressing and they're like old money aesthetic. And you're wearing like those sweaters, polos, Ralph Lauren. You're the fourth generation. And how do you feel when you see those videos?
I think it depends on the family and how you're raised. We truly don't have an aesthetic even. And you can see my father on the streets with like a broken t-shirt, and you can think he's a homeless person from the streets, I swear. My friends make fun of him in that way. But there are other families that you can say that the old man aesthetic is a little bit more sleek in a way and not so flashy. Where you can tell it's something that's really good quality, but you don't have the name of the brand in the front, if you know what I mean.
Do you feel like it also doesn't have to do with the generation, but with your age? Because I think when you are a teenager, you're way more flashy. And then, even as you said, now you're a businesswoman, so you try to tone it down.
Yes, and I feel that when you're growing up, when you're a teenager, you like maximize everything and you are pushing boundaries and limits to see until where you can go. And in that pushing boundaries and expanding limits, it also reflects on how you dress, your hairstyle, how you put makeup. And then when you go maturing and growing up, you also tone it down in a way, because I feel you say more with the simplicity.
I remember yesterday when you and I were talking, you told me that you think that the meaning of life is learning every day. Yeah. I think that's the skill I'm trying to learn, balance, because I feel like I'm always going from one side to another, and it's like a journey of also understanding yourself and what to do with your privilege.
Totally. The privilege is something to be grateful for, but it's not something that defines us. So it's just using it for our advantage, but every day concentrating on being the person we want to be. I don't wake up in the morning and feel I have everything is easy. On the contrary, like I have a salary, I have to think how many coffees I'm gonna drink in the week, how many times I go out for dinner, and that's the way I live. And on this wealth that we inherit is also being intelligent on like what are the investments and how me and my sister in this case will take care of this in the future.
Yesterday you told me that one of the advices which your dad told you is to always save money.
Yes. And sometimes, I had jobs before in my life. If I had a good salary, I like spending money, but we gotta learn how to save. That's the key.
What do you spend most of your money on?
Now?
Yeah.
Trips and experiences.
Do you not get any enjoyment from buying expensive clothes or something like this?
All my expensive clothes or bags or whatever, I literally inherited them from my grandmother, and I get them from both my grandmothers and my mom.
Yeah.
So
you get the best vintage.
Exactly. I don't buy a lot of brands, clothes, fashion. And if I do, I always buy it in apps that is vintage and used already. I believe in circular fashion, and I love that concept, instead of going to the store and getting all the new things at that prices that doesn't make sense to me.
People often ask me, what would I do in order to achieve success if I didn't have my privilege? To me, it sounds like a very difficult question, because I do not know life without privilege. But do you have an answer to that?
I think that having privilege allows you to take the time maybe to think what you really want to do, and take the time to build something that you truly like doing without worrying about the salary.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the privilege, maybe you just gotta be more strategic in getting a job that will help you survive with the best salary at the moment. And like you said, I was born in this situation, so I don't know what it would be like. But I know many people that have been born without privileges, and they concentrated in first educating themselves in the best way to then get the best job and salary to survive.
Yeah.
So we go back to this concept that knowledge and learning is power, and it's more important than having the privilege.
But I very much agree with you on what you were saying. When you have a privilege, you have the luxury of trying yourself at different things, right?
Yeah.
I know that I'm not the most talented when it comes to YouTube. I just have the means to do it. But then what happens in today's economy, people who have talents, they do not have opportunities. Because what I'm even noticing in the United States is when you're looking for investors, they really question like your family background. And it made me realize that how much easier it is for rich kids not to only start their business because their parents are willing to give them money, but also investors highly look into this.
Yes, it's true. It's true. There is a component where it's easier in a way, but I don't think that it's just impossible for people that don't have the privilege. Maybe the path would be harder, but it's possible. It's very possible, and I know a lot of people that did.
So you still have faith in the American dream?
I don't have faith in the American dream, but I have faith in the people. And it's difficult for people to believe in themselves. And we are always feeling unworthy, no matter if you have money or you don't. Our thoughts and narratives. We're caught up in our narratives of how we were raised and the experiences we lived. But the truth is, we are all the same. We all have the capabilities, different ones, but we all have this potential. I truly believe that.
I feel like you're an optimist and I'm a pessimist.
I'm an optimist, yes. Yeah.
I try to be an optimist, but every day it gets harder and harder with all of the news which we're reading, with the prices of everything. And to me, it just seems like people are robbed out of opportunities. You mentioned one of the things you can be good at is being a good wife.
Yes.
And you recently got married.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on prenup?
It's just a matter, in my viewpoint, of taking care of the legacy of the family, something that was built for generations. It has nothing to do with the person that you are marrying. And it doesn't mean that you love that person less or that you think you're going to get divorced at some point. First of all, you never know what can happen in life, and that is a fact. And second of all, I think the prenup is important to safeguard that legacy that was built for so long. And it's most common in men, and we see it a lot in men. But in our case, for example, I did it.
You asked for a prenup, right?
Exactly. And my husband was he sees the same as I and shares his values as well. But of course, if something happens to me, he will have to take care of everything for our kids. That's also a reason.
What do you think are very important things to put in a prenup?
I think there's many different ways to do it, but the way I did it was just safekeeping this legacy and what comes from my family. But since the moment that we got married and we announced this union, everything is together, and we are building what we are building together.
That's wise. And you're saying your husband was not offended by this, right?
No, not at all. In the contrary, he wanted this to be done as well. But you know, there's some people that maybe do it, and even if they're married, it says that what it's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. But we love each other, and we had, since the moment we got married, we want to build together, and from that point on, everything is of both of us.
I think it's very wise, because a lot of people get married without even understanding why they're doing this.
Yes.
What was your reason to get married?
Was two reasons. First of all, we loved each other, and we wanted to take this union to the next level. Even my husband and I, we both didn't know what this meant until we got married, actually. So I really encourage people to marry, because I've always thought it was not important, but it does have a symbolic value. That's why people have been getting married for so many years. It's like building a business together.
Exactly.
That's what we did. I had to stay in this country. We live together. And so to build this business and this relationship that we have together, we had to get married.
What's unique about your situation as well, if we're speaking in mainstream terms, you're old money and he's a self-made man.
Exactly. He's new money and he's done everything by his means. And I truly admire him a lot. And I love having both perspectives. Like where he comes from, he immigrated from Russia when he was 8 years old to New York, and they had to build from scratch, from nothing. And myself, I come from this family of legacy of almost 100 years. It's so valuable to be together and share our both experiences, because I can have his point of view, which is completely different to mine, for everything I encounter in life, even work.
Did your parents have expectations that you had to marry somebody old money as well?
Thank God my parents are so open-minded that even if they had expectations, they never communicated them to me. So I always felt free to, you know, be with whoever made me happy. And that's what they've showed me in my entire life, that if I was happy with this person, they would encourage me. They would only stand for or say something if they saw me unhappy.
Do you think it's one of the privileges which rich daughters have, that when they look into marriage, they are not thinking only about the financial side of things, but they can actually afford to think about love and other things?
Yes, I think that being a woman and having the financial support from the family gives you a freedom that some other women don't have. And that's why some other women maybe end up in like toxic relationships where they feel tied up to someone financially. And that's how men sometimes exercise power over women.
So you said that you felt the highest highs when you would score a goal, for example, or
Yes.
complete the master's degree.
Yes.
What were your lows like? Because a lot of people have this mentality that if you have the money, you can't even be depressed.
Yes, my whole life I concentrated in these external achievements. When I was 12 years old, I started playing field hockey in Argentina. And then when I turned 17, I entered the national team of Argentina of field hockey, which I was the youngest player in the team at that time. I skipped many stages of life because when all my friends were in high school, I was playing field hockey 24/7. Training every day. I couldn't go to high school. Then when I quit field hockey and I had to like reinsert myself in the society, you know, after having this, your brain is wired in a way where you're in this search for dopamine. The sport is very dopamine and adrenalinic. Mm-hmm. Like you feel adrenaline all the time. So then when you are living in the normal life, like I say, you go to university or whatever, you're talking to a person, first of all, you have to learn how to satisfy yourself with less, because that cheap dopamine is only this temporary satisfaction that we have, but in the long term, it doesn't bring any satisfaction. That was a very hard turning point in my life, because when you are struggling or grieving, you know, like when somebody dies, you go to the funeral. So I had to do the same for my field hockey life. I had to go to the funeral and mourn my field hockey life. And nobody wants to mourn, nobody wants to feel depressed. So either or you are depressed or you start filling yourself up with cheap dopamine. And that's what I ended up doing because I didn't realize. But thankfully I have an amazing family and friends, and they helped me overcome all these challenges. And I'm super grateful for these dark times because that also made me who I am today. I think truly that if you don't see the dark, you're unable to connect with this pure light and strength that we all have. So I'm super grateful for that. And it also made me, I wouldn't say an activist, but yes, I'm a sort of activist for mental health and well-being, because I also run a wellness community in New York where I do events for people to connect in a healthy way, where there's no substances involved. Because it's in the society that we live, we've accustomed ourselves to talk in a bar, having drinks. There's less and less genuine, healthy connections where we talk and we feel this dopamine of a conversation, or this dopamine because of moving our bodies in a certain way. That is also a passion of mine because of what I went through in life.
If somebody through our audience is going through those dark times right now, is there any advice you could give them?
I would say that there's always a way out. No matter how deep you are in the hole, you can be at the deepest point and you will find many people that have been through the same. So asking for help is the most difficult thing. And I had to do it because you have to accept to yourself that you're vulnerable and you need that help. And the first step is to accept it. And that's my advice. Recognize that in yourself and ask for the help you need. There's so many people in this world and we all go through dark times. Everyone passes this in different ways, but there's always a way. There's always a way, even if you think there's not.
When you were growing up, did you always understand that you were privileged, or was there like this aha moment that you found out?
I've always realized because of the school that I went, the people that took me to school, they were bodyguards. That's not very common in Argentina, but there's a lot of insecurity, so some big families do have bodyguards, and that was something that made me realize that I was in a different situation. But I've always tried to keep that hidden in a way. And I've always tried to cope as a normal girl and experienced everything. I took taxis and buses. I walked on the streets. Yes, thank God I was able to experience everything. But I had these certain types of vacations where I go on a private plane or on a boat. And that is not something that everyone has access to. I preferred, and since my entire life, to continue my own path, I would say. And my father made sure to educate me in a way where everything that I have in life, I earned it because of my efforts. Nobody gave me nothing. And this is something that it's sometimes confused when you have resources, because people can think that everything you attain is because your father paid for it. Mm-hmm. And I struggled with this in my life because I've always wanted to demonstrate that everything that I did it because of my own means.
I think being connected with yourself is so difficult in today's world because you're constantly distracted by some noise.
It's all an escape, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even as you were saying before, chasing dopamine and things like this. So what is the purpose of life then?
The purpose of life is connecting with people in a healthy way. And literally, that's why I started this community in New York, where we do the wellness events. It's called Apollo Society. Me and my two business partners, we said there's no space, healthy space to connect with people in a healthy way in New York. And that's my little seed that I plant and I bring to the world to create these healthy spaces to connect, which is even as little as it is because it's only here in New York and we do a couple of events. But that's my way of bringing back to the world and incentivizing the connection.
And I think sober mind is so valuable.
So valuable. It's pure clarity. Clarity to yourself and to others.
When I tell my friends that my dad doesn't drink and he never drank, they sincerely don't believe it.
I don't drink a drop of alcohol, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Because you're able, like how you listen to another person, you are able to listen to yourself in the same way. The thoughts that arise. If we're constantly drinking or numbing ourselves, it's very difficult to hear these voices. And these voices send information to us. Sobriety is truly important. It's also important to choose if you want to experience something different. To choose the moment and the context to do so, not just going with the flows of energies and people and things that are happening.
So I have two final questions for you.
Yes.
The first one is, who would you like to see on our show next?
I would like to see a famous football player.
Like football, we're talking about
soccer.
Yes, not American football.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite football player?
Yes, I have a favorite football player, Rodrigo de Paul. He's in the national Argentinian team.
We hope to get to that level one day.
He's so good, yes.
And the last question, are you happy?
Yes, I am happy because I'm truly becoming the person that I always envisioned, in the sense that I am cultivating a relationship and a partnership with my husband, and we're building something. I cultivated the best relationship with my brother and my sister, same with my parents, and I feel fulfilled of all the challenges that I overcame and how I am able to share this knowledge with other people, and that's what I will continue doing.
That's amazing. I hope you will always stay happy.
Thank you.
If there is a final message you want to send to our audience, you can say anything about anything.
I would just say, it doesn't matter where you come from, if you have money, if you don't, material things don't matter. In the end, what truly matters is what you have inside and connecting with that. I think that's the key to life.
Thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us. It was a pleasure meeting you in person.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Thank you so much. You mentioned that happiness is small moments of good conversations. I hope that was the good moment as well.
Exactly, this was it. I'm so grateful.